Like the whole point is just the last line, so I'd rather have like a second or two of silence, if you guys can handle that. Okay, I'm going to get into the war poetry. My first one I'm going to dedicate to my friend Brittany, who's here tonight. Say hi. She's my war poetry muse in a sense that she has provided the support and encouragement. And also this particular poem, she suggested the last line, so I have to kind of acknowledge that, but I wouldn't if she were here. But since she is here, it's called The Hero. A long time ago, I received the Purple Heart, 2 Bronze Stars, a Presidential Unit Citation, a Combat Infantry Badge, and Vietnam's Cross of Gallantry. Strange, seeing as how today I have difficulty summoning the courage to face the cruel emptiness of doing a load of laundry or making a piece of toast. Thank you, Billy. Okay, now we're going to get into like the really heavy stuff, but there's only 4 or 5 of them, and then we'll get into lighter stuff. If you know your geography, Vietnam is kind of a thin strip of a country. To the east is the South China Sea. Along the coast, along the coastal plain, is National Route 1. It's the main artery in Vietnam. It connects Saigon in the south to Hanoi in the north. When the French fought their war in Vietnam, they called National Route 1 the Street Without Joy. And so my poem is called Ambush on the Street Without Joy. Lying in a roadside ditch, taking a head count, 2 missing, wounded and exposed above. My medic volunteers to go with me, and I order covering fire. Like 2 lovers, hand in hand on a sunny beach, we leap up, and the world's secrets unfold before our eyes. We place our trust in a random universe as AK rounds whisper sweet words of seduction, offering a promise of all eternity, free of pain, free of fear. And I've written a whole series of poems about that event, so this is another one titled Ambush on the Street Without Joy. Ambush Friday, late afternoon. Tracers etching fiery lines in the dusk. Spooky flares silhouetting clouds. 4th of July on April 18th, year of the cock. Saturday evening, barbecuing steaks, Tuiwa Officers Club. Breakers rolling in on a South China Sea. Budweiser's cold and dewy. Buzzed and pumped, my XO and I celebrate our renewed lease on life. A major approaches and says he'd been on watch the night before. Thinking it just another instance of frightened troops shooting at nothing, he compliments me on the darn fine show. He hasn't been invited to our party. He isn't a member of our club. And in my best imitation of an arrogant ass, I look him in the eye and I tell him, I lost 3 dead, 4 wounded. He mumbles an apology and disappears, leaving me alone, diminished. And instead, survivor's guilt cozies up, buys my beer, orders another. Okay, can you handle a couple more? Can I handle a couple more? So sure.
Is it beers?
Beers. That's BJ's is across the street. Some of my friends are here tonight. Thank you all for showing up. We're going over to BJ's afterwards if anybody wants to join us. This one's called Dance to the Dust Off Waltz. Dust off is the military term for a medical evacuation helicopter. Fear flying no more, wounded. Medevac swooping in, rotor blades whooping it up in the key of A major. Trembling violins and staccato horns rising. Tracers, red and green, arcing. Brass casing spent, sunlight reflecting, too bright, too bold, too much. No pain. Blood, sanguine and sticky, shimmering on hands, legs, abdomen. No pain. On a litter, 4 men running, scrambling for their lives and mine. Someone stumbles, goes down, I roll off. It's okay, I think. I don't mind. Just get me to the bird before she's hit. Get me to the supermarket, coffee on sale. Get me to Reno, prostitution still legal. Get me anywhere, just get me out of here. And they do, sliding me in next to my platoon sergeant, our very own mummy, swathed head to thigh in battle dressings, moaning softly. I looked to the crew chief, eyes beseeching, lift off, lift off, lift off. The bird does, and we don't get hit. We clear the tree line, joy surging, every cell, fiber, synapse. As eagles vie with Valkyries for our souls, and Wagner provides the overture. Thank you. Okay. Quick break. You want me to read from the children's thesaurus? Okay, ahead, adverb, in front, before, first. Moving right along, this one's called Ghosts. It's somewhat in the same vein. The dead from that war so long ago continue to haunt. I wish it were possible to speak with them, but I know not what language, English, Vietnamese, French, or perchance ghosts speak in tongues not understood by the living. Boughs whispering in breeze, wind wolves sighing through grasslands, call of red-tailed hawk. I wish I could understand. I wish one would speak to me. Maybe the burned boy who lived 9 days, or the gut-shot PFC called upon to endure 20 minutes, or the lucky one killed instantly, 1 bullet, 1 heart. I'll dwell deep in my skull, reclusive, not coming forth to tell what I want to know. For one to speak up, he might be angry, having expected a 7-course dinner, but served only a mess of pottage, resenting perhaps my surviving, and surely questioning the point in coming home intact, only to live like the street without joy, fortified with beer and scotch, thick with longing, heavy with inertia. One more. I don't want this to sound too political, but I just read an article this week that veterans returning from Afghanistan and Iraq have about 5 times the likelihood of dying violent deaths once they are out of the military than their peers who have not been in the military. 2.5 times the suicide rate, 5.5 times the chances of being killed in a motorcycle accident. So it's in that spirit that I present this poem. It's called Memorial Day, 2010. That's when I wrote it. I've never understood the rhetoric of Memorial Day and the honoring of those heroes who gave their lives for our country. Honor the dead by all means, yes, but please spare me the propaganda about how they gave their lives for freedom. Terror and carnage know naught of lofty ideals. In my experience, it was rare indeed for someone to give his life willingly, and that was for comrades, not country. Most of our hollowed dead had their lives wrenched from them, screaming with rage as they convulsed in agony, desperate to staunch life's ebbing, youthful longings and dreams of love forever in abeyance. Today, Memorial Day 2010, I learned a friend just lost her 19-year-old brother killed in Afghanistan. Today, Memorial Day 2010, I'm reminded of what Joseph Stalin once said. One death is a tragedy. 1 million is a statistic. To truly observe Memorial Day, we need to acknowledge the barbarism of sending our 19-year-old sons and daughters into harm's way, regardless the cause. To truly observe Memorial Day, we need to embrace tragedy, not by the one, but by the million. One last war poem. This is in a slightly lighter vein. It's going to be a transition into some lighter stuff, I hope. This one's called Over There. Over there, we kept telling each other, all you got to do is survive. All you got to do is survive, and the rest of your life will be gravy. Never once did we stop to think what all that gravy was going to do to our cholesterol levels and waistlines. Okay. So now we're going to move into some wilderness poetry. How am I doing on time? Are you timing me?
13 minutes.
Nobody's trying to...
Oh, okay, well, what time do y'all have to be home? As Mick mentioned, I do love going out to the wilderness. My first wilderness poem kind of sets the tone for the rest. It's called My Favorite Places. It's the empty spaces my soul craves. Sand-blown desert, wind-swept glacier, marshy tundra, no people, no trees, no cars, no roads, no trails, and most assuredly, no cell phones. Places where simplicity expects nothing and the void without soothes the void within. Elsewhere, teeming life befuddles and confuses and cares too much about itself to notice other beings or that other emptiness, the one right here, right now. Okay, and in a similar vein, this one is called Wilderness Solitude, and it starts off with an epigram, which I like to occasionally include so you guys know I know how to read. The poem is Wilderness Solitude. The epigram is by Konrad Lorenz, Nobel laureate. And these are his words: anxious haste and hasty fear help to rob man of his most essential properties. One of these is self-reflection. And now for my poem, 35 years of backpacking in the Golden Trot Wilderness. Camped today at Movie Streamer, well away from the nearest trail. Just lodgepole pine, fragrant sagebrush, and the occasional bear. Sometimes alone, often as a pair. Last night below freezing, this morning chilly. Not knowing for what time the mosquitoes have set their alarms. Wanting to heed nature's call prior. Dropped trowel, squatted, and within a moment, 127 kamikazes mistook my Lintan Derriere for an American carrier, followed shortly thereafter by a troop of scouts lost, wandering around off trail looking for the way to Monachi Meadows. Makes me wonder if a soul can find neither privacy nor solitude in 300,000 acres of wilderness. How are we to heed Lorenz's call to self-reflection? Bear, mosquito, human. Apparently few creatures can tolerate much time alone. And not many are likely to be aware ever that silence can, and indeed does, calm our ghosts. Okay, a couple more wilderness poems. This one is dedicated to the memory of my best friend. The poem is titled January 3rd, 2010, because that's when I wrote it. It's dedicated to Carl Frey. First anniversary of my best friend's death and my broken ankle. Events unrelated, but they did occur on the same day. I commemorate with a solo backpacking trip deep into the heart of Pinto Basin. 300 square miles of empty desert. No roads, no trails, no people. I need open space for reflection. And here I am, camped at the old Gypsy Rose Well. Thinking it strange, I know exactly where I am on the planet. Yet comprehending neither Carl's life, his death, nor my own mortality. Just as a closet, no matter how big, always gets filled, my spirit expands to the size and shape of its surroundings. This vastness does not make me seem insignificant. I feel as if I belong, as if I were a part of this immensity. And Carl would have too, were it not for 1 year ago today. Okay, one more desert poem, and then we'll get into more poems or whatever. Pinto Basin, I've already mentioned, 300 square miles of desert, no roads, no trails. Lying on my back in desert sand, feet south, head to Polaris. I dream of other worlds and other peoples, identifying stars and constellations, Orion, Taurus, Capella, Auriga, Pleiades. No clouds, no moons, yeah, right. No clouds, no moon. Just stars overhead burning yellow, white, red. A fiery phantasmagoria etched in the human psyche since the dawn of creation. I think of the old desert rats who must have gone quietly insane. From the loneliness, perhaps, or more likely, from beauty unbearable. Okay, I've got a few more. These go back to my book. How am I doing time-wise?
18 3/4 minutes back.
Okay. I'm going to go for a few more minutes, you guys. Put up with it. These would be in my book if I had my book to show you, but I don't, so you have to take my word that they're in the book. This one's called On Being Normal. My horoscope for today says we have to know what's not normal in order to appreciate what is. They got it backwards. Sanity lies in knowing what's normal so we can cherish all that isn't, all that is unique and different in each and every one of us. After all, once we're dead, then, and only then, will everyone be exactly the same. So if fitting in is what you want, you'll succeed in a cemetery. To die in bed. To die in bed is the goal most of us have. Comfortable, minimal pain, sedated. A boring end to timid lives. But there is another way. There are some who would rather die in an icy avalanche, or in a grizzly's unforgiving embrace, or maybe like Ambrose Bierce, in a revolution of our own choosing. Or better yet, making love on a mountaintop, trading verses from Narada with a sexy enamorada, while clouds glimmer overhead like pink orchids, and the setting sun takes almost everything, leaving only our best poems behind. A couple more. Okay. Are we doing okay? I like this one, so hope you do too. Some people. Hey, there's some people. Some people have never sat on their glasses nor worn mismatched shoes. I'm not one of them. Some people can sleep the night away undisturbed by ghosts. I'm not one of them. Some people have never fallen down drunk and been unable to rise. I'm not one of them. Some people can make small talk and answer the phone without cringing. I'm not one of them. Some people don't let dirty dishes pile up and pay their bills on time. I'm not one of them. Some people have never been paralyzed with ennui nor traumatized by world events. I'm not one of them. Some people are so bewildered and confused they can't comprehend a thing, and if you are one of them, please, please Introduce yourself. And I'll write you a poem. This one's called Miscommunicating by Poetry. Miscommunicating by Poetry. I meet women. Get interested. Get inspired. Write a poem. Get drunk. Email the poem. Never hear back. Yeah, let's see. Okay, a couple more short ones. It's a lifestyle written for my friend Joyce, who's not here tonight. A dear friend was missing 2 Netflix movies. She looked everywhere. On the computer table, the television stand, bookshelves, cutting table. She sorted through stacks of books and magazines, paper and fabric. Finally, gave up in despair, worried about what the replacement cost would be. She told me all about it at lunch. Later that day, when she called to tell me they had just arrived in the mail, I couldn't find the phone. And I'm going to read a couple more here, short ones. You've got mail. Ta-da. You've got mail are words full of life and hope and approbation, alas. No new messages. Keeps showing up on my email server. And I keep looking and waiting, but I really doubt that anyone will be beating the path to my door for movie rights. Okay, my final poem for the night is called A Poem for a Cow. Okay, somebody's got to write poems for cows. Driving down Interstate 5, snacking on turkey jerky, I passed a cattle truck. All the cows stared at me as I stuffed another piece in my mouth. I tried to explain it wasn't beef, but I don't think they understood. I also don't think they know where they're going, but then neither do I, nor do I want to. Thank you all, Ron. Great